First strike. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the UES Magellan, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel, as it glided through the star-speckled void. The bridge crew worked in practiced silence, their fingers dancing across holographic displays as they monitored the ship's approach to the massive crystalline structure they'd discovered at the edge of the Orion Arm. Analysis complete, Captain, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced from his science station. The structure appears to be some kind of faster-than-light communications relay. Definitely artificial, but it's been dormant for at least 1,000 years. Chen nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the shimmering construct. After decades of searching, humanity had finally found concrete proof of advanced alien civilization. The Magellan led a fleet of 3 ships on this expedition, each carrying the best scientists Earth had to offer. They were making history with every passing moment. "Ma'am." Commander Jackson's voice carried an edge that immediately caught Chen's attention. "We're picking up energy signatures. Multiple vessels just dropped out of FTL on the far side of the relay." The bridge atmosphere shifted instantly from academic curiosity to alert readiness. Earth's first contact protocols were clear. Approach with caution, demonstrate peaceful intentions, but maintain defensive readiness. They drilled for this moment countless times. "Full scan," Chen ordered. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The holographic display flickered to life, showing 3 vessels of clearly alien design. They were beautiful in a predatory way, sleek hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, with pulsing violet energy lines running along their length like luminescent veins. "Ships are approximately 600 meters in length," Jackson reported. "Energy readings suggest extremely advanced tech. Their weapon systems are, Captain, they're powering up." Chen's training kicked in. "Shields up. Broadcast first contact package on all frequencies. Make it clear we're here peacefully." The alien vessels accelerated with impossible grace, spreading out in a classic pincer formation. Chen recognized the tactic. It was similar to ancient naval warfare strategies Earth's own ships still used. "No response to our transmission," communications reported. "They're jamming our." The bridge rocked violently as energy beams lanced out from the lead alien vessel, striking the Magellan's shields with devastating force. "Shields at 60%, Jackson shouted. "Their weapons, they're like nothing we've ever seen." Chen's mind raced. The aliens had attacked without provocation, without even attempting communication. This wasn't first contact. This was an ambush. "All ships, combat formation Delta," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Begin emergency jump preparations. Rodriguez, get everything you can on their weapons and defenses. If we make it home, Earth needs to know what we're up against." The Magellan's engines roared as Chen executed a series of evasive maneuvers she'd learned in the simulator, but never expected to use in real combat. The alien ships moved with unsettling precision. Their attacks seemingly anticipated her every move. "Ma'am, the Einstein is hit," Jackson's voice cracked. "Their shields are gone." Chen watched in horror as one of her sister ships erupted in a brilliant explosion, its crew of 300 scientists and explorers gone in an instant. The third ship, the Hawking, was already jumping to safety, leaving the Magellan alone against the alien attackers. "Jump drive at 85%, engineering reported. 2 minutes to emergency jump capability." Another hit rocked the ship. "Shields at 30%. We can't take another direct hit." Chen's fingers flew across her command console, initiating a desperate gambit. "Vent plasma from the port nacelles. Make it look like they've damaged our engines." The alien vessels pressed their attack, moving in for the kill. Just as they closed to point-blank range, Chen smiled grimly. "Now, full power to forward shields. Emergency thrust." The Magellan surged forward, its reinforced bow shields plowing through the enemy formation. The unexpected aggressive move caught the aliens off guard, forcing them to break formation to avoid collision. "Jump drive ready." "Get us out of here," Chen ordered. "Random vector, Maximum distance. We need to warn Earth. As the stars stretched into streaks around them, Chen stared at the tactical display, showing the alien vessels growing smaller behind them. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, imagining peaceful exchanges of knowledge and culture. Instead, they'd found themselves in the crosshairs of an advanced civilization that attacked without warning or mercy. "Plot a course home," she said quietly, "and begin analyzing every piece of data we collected. Earth needs to prepare. This isn't over. It's just beginning." In her gut, Chen knew this encounter would change everything. Humanity had reached for the stars with hope and curiosity, but now they would need to remember other skills of warfare and survival that lay deep in their DNA. The galaxy, it seemed, was not the peaceful realm of scientific wonder they had imagined. It was a battlefield, and humanity had just been drafted into a war they never wanted, but would have to win to survive. Counter-protocol. The United Earth Defense Council chamber hummed with tension as Admiral Weizong reviewed the Magellan's combat footage for the dozenth time. The alien vessels, now identified as belonging to a species calling themselves the Vanguard, moved across the holographic display with lethal grace. "Play it again," Zhang ordered, his weathered face illuminated by the hologram's glow. "Focus on their attack pattern at timestamp 47. The assembled military leaders watched as the Vanguard ships executed their pincer movement. It was textbook perfection. Too perfect, Zhang had realized. Like watching a computer run a pre-programmed routine. "They're mechanical," he announced, standing to address the council. "Not the ships, the tactics themselves. These Vanguard, they fight like an AI that's never had its assumptions challenged. No adaptation, no improvisation. Just perfect execution of established protocols." General Maria Santos of the Brazilian Space Force leaned forward. "And that's their weakness." Zhang nodded. "They're stronger, faster, more advanced. But they're predictable. They fight like they've never faced a real opponent, never had to adapt or evolve their tactics. Humanity." He smiled grimly. "That's all we've ever done." The holoscreen shifted to display Earth's combined military assets. The new Aegis-class destroyers, barely a month out of the shipyards, represented humanity's first real warships. They were crude compared to Vanguard technology, but they had something the aliens wouldn't expect: centuries of warfare experience built into their design. "The Vanguard expect us to fight like them," Zhang continued. "Straight lines, perfect formations, predictable responses. So we'll show them how Earth fights." The next hours were a flurry of tactical planning. Naval officers contributed centuries of submarine warfare doctrine, the art of striking from stealth and silence. Air Force veterans brought expertise in electronic warfare and deception. Army strategists added their knowledge of asymmetric warfare and guerrilla tactics. "We've confirmed they're attacking other species too," Intelligence Chief Yuki Tanaka reported, bringing up new data. "The Vanguard are expanding aggressively, but they always use the same tactics. Some of their victims have better technology than us, but none have our variety of combat experience." Zhang nodded. The plan was taking shape. "We'll need to move quickly. The Vanguard think they found another easy target. We'll show them why that was a mistake." 3 weeks later, Captain Chen stood on the bridge of her new command. The UES Normandy, lead ship of the Counter-Offensive Task Force. The Normandy looked crude compared to the sleek Magellan, its hull studded with what appeared to be construction equipment and debris. "Status report," she ordered, watching her tactical display as a Vanguard patrol approached their position. "Salvage disguise holding," her XO reported. "They see us as a civilian mining vessel. No signs they've detected our weapons." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Normandy's true nature was hidden beneath a carefully crafted facade of civilian technology. Inside that rough exterior waited the deadliest innovations Earth could produce. Weapons and tactics born from thousands of years of human conflict. "They're moving to Intercept," Tactical announced. "Standard pincer formation. Just like we expected, Chen said quietly. Begin Operation Trojan Horse. The Vanguard ships approached confidently, no doubt expecting another easy victory over primitive human technology. They didn't alter their approach when the Normandy appeared to suffer engine failure. They maintained their perfect formation as they moved to surround the seemingly helpless vessel. They never saw the true threat until it was too late. All ships, execute Broken Arrow, Chen commanded. The debris field around the Normandy erupted into action. What the Vanguard had dismissed as space junk was actually a dozen stealth fighters, their hulls coated with metamaterials that absorbed sensor signals. They accelerated from 0 to attack velocity in seconds, their trajectories wild and unpredictable. The Vanguard formation, perfect for engaging a single large target, was suddenly vulnerable to attack from all directions. Their energy weapons, devastating against shields, splashed harmlessly against the fighters' ablative armor. Another primitive technology they hadn't expected. Multiple hits confirmed. Tactical reported with satisfaction. Their formation is breaking. The Vanguard ships try to adapt, but their responses were sluggish, programmed. They had no protocols for this type of chaotic, multi-vector assault. While they struggled to track the fighters, the Normandy revealed her own surprise. Electromagnetic pulse torpedoes, designed to disrupt the very energy systems that made Vanguard ships so powerful. Direct hit on their flagship, Chen announced. Their shields are fluctuating. All fighters, concentrate fire on their propulsion systems. The battle was over in minutes. The Vanguard patrol, expecting to find easy prey, instead found themselves disabled and drifting, their perfect tactics useless against human unpredictability. As Chen watched recovery teams secure the disabled alien vessels, she thought about the message this would send. The Vanguard had expected humanity to fight like everyone else in the galaxy, with advanced technology and predictable tactics. Instead, they'd encountered something their protocols couldn't process, a species that had spent its entire history learning to overcome superior forces through innovation and adaptation. Send word to command, she ordered. Operation Trojan Horse successful. Tell them. She paused, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. Tell them humanity is ready to teach the Vanguard some new tricks. The Hidden Fleet. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, hidden among ice formations and stellar debris, Commander James Okonjo watched his tactical display with practiced patience. The UES Shadow, a stealth corvette specifically designed for deep space reconnaissance, drifted silently through the void. Its hull, covered in advanced metamaterials and cooling systems, made it virtually invisible to conventional sensors. Contact, his sensor officer whispered, despite there being no need for actual silence in space. Vanguard Patrol Fleet, bearing 047. 5 ships, standard search pattern. Okonjo nodded, watching the alien vessels systematically sweep through the sector. The Vanguard had been growing increasingly frustrated by their inability to locate Earth's primary defense fleet. For 3 months now, humanity had been waging a campaign of strategic strikes and disappearing acts that defy the aliens' tactical databases. They still haven't figured it out, his XO, Lieutenant Commander Puddle, remarked with quiet satisfaction. They're looking for a conventional fleet base, something big, obvious, full of support infrastructure. Because that's what they would build, Okonjo replied. The Vanguard's rigid thinking was proving to be their greatest weakness. Send the signal. Let's show them what they've been missing. Throughout the Kuiper Belt, dozens of ice formations suddenly shed their frozen shells. What appeared to be ordinary asteroids revealed themselves as camouflaged human warships. Earth had taken inspiration from some of its smallest sea creatures, like the octopus, which could change its appearance to match its surroundings. All ships, execute Operation Hydra, Okonjo commanded. The name was fitting. For every Vanguard victory, 2 more human task forces seemed to appear from nowhere. The Shadow's tactical display lit up as 30 ships of varying sizes emerged from their hiding places. Some had been disguised as asteroids. others as chunks of industrial debris. The Vanguard patrol found themselves suddenly surrounded by a fleet that had materialized from seemingly empty space. Multiple targeting solutions confirmed. Tactical reported. They're trying to form up, but their formation is scattered. Launch Phantom drones, Okonjo ordered. Another innovation born from Earth's military history. Modern versions of World War II radar chaff, designed to confuse and mislead enemy sensors. The Vanguard ship's perfect formation deteriorated further as their sensors detected hundreds of small craft appearing around them. Most were simple drones projecting false signatures, but mixed among them were the real threats: EMP torpedoes and stealth fighters. They're signaling. Communications announced with surprise. They're requesting terms of surrender. Okonjo raised an eyebrow. This was new. The Vanguard had never surrendered before. Their protocols apparently didn't include the concept. Perhaps they were finally learning to adapt. Accept their surrender, he ordered, but maintain combat readiness. Let's see if they've actually learned anything about human unpredictability. As his fleet moved to secure the Vanguard vessels, Okonjo received a priority transmission from Earth Command. The holographic form of Admiral Zhang appeared in his ready room. "Well done, Commander," Zhang said without preamble. "But we've detected something concerning. The Vanguard are pulling ships from multiple sectors, consolidating their forces. They're adapting." Okonjo studied the strategic data Zhang shared. The Vanguard were indeed changing their tactics, attempting to counter humanity's guerrilla warfare strategy by amassing overwhelming force. "They're learning," Okonjo observed, "but they're still thinking like the Vanguard. Look at these movements. They're creating a massive fleet, but they're leaving their supply lines exposed. They still don't understand human warfare." Zhang nodded grimly. "Exactly. They're learning, but they're learning the wrong lessons. They think bigger is better, that enough brute force will overcome our tactical advantages. Your mission parameters have changed, Commander. We need you to implement Phase 2. Okonjo smiled. Phase 2 had been developed by studying ancient Earth conflicts where smaller forces had defeated numerically superior enemies by attacking their support structure rather than their main force. "The Vanguard are gathering their fleet for a decisive battle," Zhang continued. "They expect us to do the same. Instead, we'll be nowhere near the battlefield," Okonjo finished. "While they're looking for a fleet engagement, we'll be dismantling their empire piece by piece." "Precisely. Your shadow fleet will coordinate with resistance forces on occupied worlds. The Vanguard think they're forcing us into a conventional war. Instead, we'll show them why humans wrote the book on asymmetric warfare." As the Admiral's hologram faded, Okonjo turned to his tactical display. The Vanguard were adapting, yes, but they were adapting to fight the last war, the kind of conflict they understood. They still hadn't grasped that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or tactics, but its ability to completely change the nature of the battle itself. "Send word to all Shadow Fleet vessels," he ordered. "Begin Phase 2 preparations. It's time to show the Vanguard why every attempt to conquer Earth throughout our history has failed. You can't defeat an enemy that refuses to fight on your terms." The scattered human fleet disappeared back into the camouflage of space, leaving the Vanguard to prepare for a massive battle that would never come. Instead, they would face 1,000 smaller cuts, each precision strike targeted not at their military might, but at the very foundation of their empire. The real war was just beginning, and it would be fought in shadows, not in grand fleet engagements. The Vanguard were about to learn why humanity's military history was filled with stories of mighty empires falling to opponents they had fatally underestimated. Alliance of necessity. The crystalline spires of the Meridian Trading Station sparkled against the backdrop of a violet nebula. Inside a secure conference chamber, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood before representatives of 7 different alien species, each one a victim of Vanguard expansion. The Vanguard believe themselves invincible because they've never faced an enemy who truly understood warfare, Rodriguez explained, her translator converting her words into each species' native language. But humanity's history is different. We've spent millennia learning how to defeat supposedly invincible enemies. The holographic display behind her showed footage from the Shadow Fleet's recent victories. The Arcturian delegate, their bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with interest, spoke first. "Your species fights like nothing we've ever seen," they said. "The Vanguard's tactics have always been overwhelming. Until now." Rodriguez nodded. "Because they fight like machines. Perfect execution of predetermined strategies. But real warfare isn't about perfection. It's about adaptation, improvisation, and understanding your enemy's psychology." The Tellarite representative, a crystalline being that communicated through light pulses, flashed skeptically. "Your technology is primitive compared to theirs. Compared to ours. How can you possibly coordinate an effective resistance?" In response, Rodriguez activated another hologram. It showed the intricate network of resistance cells that humanity had helped establish throughout Vanguard-controlled space. Each cell operated independently, but could coordinate with others using methods inspired by Earth's historic resistance movements. "We don't need superior technology," she explained. "We need superior strategy. The Vanguard's empire is built on fear and overwhelming force. But humanity knows that empires like that have a critical weakness. They're brittle. Hit them in enough places at once, and they shatter." Across the sector, that strategy was already in motion. On the Vanguard-occupied world of New Arcturus, Commander Sarah Chen, now leading a covert operations team, watched as her latest operation unfolded. "Charges set," her tactical officer reported. The demolition devices, disguised as standard Vanguard power cells, had been planted throughout the occupation force's primary supply depot by local resistance members. Chen checked her chronometer. 3 minutes until the patrol passes. Right on schedule. The Vanguard's clockwork precision, once their strength, had become a vulnerability. Their patrols moved with such reliable timing that planning operations around them was almost too easy. The explosions, when they came, were perfectly synchronized. The depot's security systems, expecting attacks from outside, were useless against threats that had been walked right through the front door. As alarms blared and Vanguard forces rushed to respond, Chen's team was already gone, blending into the civilian population using techniques perfected by Earth's guerrilla fighters centuries ago. Back on Meridian Station, Rodriguez was showing the assembled delegates something new. Footage of Vanguard ships being systematically dismantled by what appeared to be civilian mining vessels. "These are our Wolf-Pack squadrons," she explained, "named after submarine warfare tactics from Earth's history. Small groups of ships that hunt together, striking vulnerable targets and disappearing before the enemy can respond." The Centaurian delegate, their crystalline form shimming with excitement, leaned forward. "Your ships are disguised as civilian vessels." "Sometimes," Rodriguez smiled. "Sometimes they're asteroids, or space debris, or abandoned stations. The Vanguard are looking for military bases and warships. They don't understand that anything can be a weapon if you're creative enough." "And you would teach us these tactics?" the Arcturian asked. "Share this knowledge." "We'll do more than that," Rodriguez replied. "We'll help you organize, coordinate, and strike at the Vanguard in ways they can't predict or counter. Humanity has spent its entire history learning and developing these strategies. Now we'll teach them to you." The chamber erupted in discussion as the delegates conferred among themselves. Rodriguez watched with satisfaction. The alliance was forming, just as Earth's strategists had predicted. The Vanguard had created their own worst nightmare. They had united their victims under the leadership of a species that specialized in defeating superior forces. On the other side of the sector, Admiral Zhang received Rodriguez's signal confirming the alliance's formation. He immediately began implementing the next phase of Earth's strategy. The Shadow Fleet would now serve as trainers and coordinators for a galaxy-wide insurgency. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Operation Hydra is now entering Phase 3. Begin distributing our warfare databases to our new allies. everything from classical military theory to modern guerrilla tactics. His aide looked up from her terminal. "Sir, the Vanguard fleet is still massing for their decisive battle. Intelligence suggests they've committed 80% of their forces to this engagement." Zhang smiled. The Vanguard were preparing to crush humanity's military in a single massive battle, exactly as humans had done countless times throughout history. But they were about to learn another lesson from Earth's military history. While they were focusing on the obvious threat, the real danger was spreading through their empire like a virus. "Let them gather their fleet," he said quietly. "By the time they realize they're fighting the wrong war, it will be too late. Humanity isn't just going to defeat the Vanguard. We're going to teach the galaxy how to make sure they never threaten anyone again." The pieces were in place. Across Vanguard space, resistance cells armed with human tactical knowledge were preparing to rise. The empire that had never faced a serious military challenge was about to experience something entirely new. A war fought not with superior technology, but with superior strategy, determination, and the accumulated military wisdom of humanity's long and violent history. Breaking the chain. Admiral Wei Zhang stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the largest Vanguard fleet ever assembled fill his tactical display. 500 capital ships, accompanied by thousands of support vessels, had gathered to crush humanity once and for all. The massive armada represented everything the Vanguard understood about warfare: overwhelming force, perfect coordination, and unstoppable power. "Status of Operation Thunderbolt," Zhang asked quietly. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Yuki Chen, smiled. "All resistance cells report ready, Admiral. The Vanguard committed 80% of their fleet to this battle, just as we predicted. Their remaining forces are spread thin, trying to maintain control of their empire." Zhang nodded. The Vanguard had fallen into humanity's trap, though they didn't know it yet. They had gathered their forces for a decisive battle, expecting humanity to do the same. Instead, Earth's apparent fleet, led by Zhang's Defiant, was merely the bait in a much larger operation. Signal from Shadow Fleet. Communications reported. Commander Okonjo reports all teams in position. They're ready to begin on your mark. Zhang took a moment to appreciate the scale of what they were about to attempt. Humanity had spent months preparing for this moment, teaching their allies centuries' worth of military strategies distilled into focused resistance tactics. Today would prove whether that preparation had been enough. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Execute Operation Thunderbolt." Across Vanguard space, countless resistance cells sprang into action simultaneously. On 100 occupied worlds, disguised ships that had been posing as cargo vessels suddenly revealed their true nature. Weapon caches, hidden using techniques perfected by Earth's guerrilla fighters, were distributed to waiting resistance fighters. The Vanguard's massive fleet detected none of this. Their attention was fixed firmly on Zhang's forces, their tactical computers calculating the perfect attack patterns to overwhelm the seemingly outmatched human ships. "They're beginning their attack run," Chen reported. "Standard Vanguard formation, just larger in scale." Zhang watched as the alien fleet split into their characteristic attack pattern, perfected over centuries of unopposed expansion. It was beautiful, in its way, each ship knowing its exact place, each movement precisely calculated. "Launch countermeasures," Zhang ordered. The space around his fleet erupted with thousands of phantom signatures, a technique borrowed from Earth's electronic warfare doctrine. To Vanguard sensors, it appeared as though the human fleet had suddenly multiplied. The alien formation faltered momentarily as their targeting systems struggled to differentiate real ships from false signatures. It was a small disruption, but it served its purpose. The Vanguard were focused entirely on the battle before them, blind to the real threats spreading through their empire. On the occupied world of New Arcturus, Captain Sarah Chen led her resistance cell in a carefully coordinated strike against the planet's primary command center. Similar attacks were happening simultaneously across Vanguard space, targeting communication hubs, supply lines, and command structures. Their response times are getting slower, Chen reported via encrypted channel. Their command and control network is starting to fragment. Back on the Defiant, Zhang received similar reports from across the sector. The Vanguard's greatest strength, their perfect coordination, was becoming their greatest weakness. As their communication network degraded, their ability to maintain their precise tactics began to fail. Multiple Vanguard ships breaking formation, Chen announced. Their coordination is starting to break down. Zhang allowed himself a small smile. The Vanguard had never faced an enemy that attacked their infrastructure instead of their military might. They had no protocols for maintaining control when their command structure itself was under attack. Signal from Ambassador Rodriguez. Communications reported. The Arcturian resistance has taken control of 3 sector command centers. The Tellarites report similar successes. The Vanguard are losing their grip on their occupied territories. The massive alien fleet before them began to show signs of confusion. Individual ship commanders, cut off from central control, fell back on their basic programming. But those programs weren't designed for this situation. They had no protocols for dealing with an empire-wide insurgency. They're receiving distress calls, Chen reported, monitoring the fragments of Vanguard communications they could intercept. Their commanders are realizing what's happening, but they can't respond effectively. Their fleet is too far from their territory to help. Zhang nodded. This was the key to humanity's strategy, not to defeat the Vanguard military directly, but to make that military irrelevant. While they had gathered their forces for a decisive battle, their empire was being dismantled piece by piece. Sir, Chen's voice carried a note of amazement. We're detecting power fluctuations in the Vanguard fleet. Their coordination is completely breaking down. Some ships are trying to retreat. Others are maintaining attack position. They're in chaos. Zhang watched as the mighty Vanguard armada began to dissolve. Without their central command structure, without their perfect coordination, they were just individual ships. Powerful, but no longer parts of an invincible whole. Send the signal to all resistance forces, he ordered. Execute Phase 2. Across the sector, guerrilla fleets emerged from hiding. Shadow fleet vessels, accompanied by newly trained resistance fighters, began systematic attacks on isolated Vanguard ships. The hunters had become the hunted. Signal from Vanguard Command. Communications announced with surprise. They're requesting terms of surrender. Zhang studied the tactical display, watching as the supposedly invincible empire crumbled. Humanity had proven what it had known all along, that true strength lay not in technology or numbers, but in adaptability, creativity, and the wisdom earned through centuries of warfare. Accept their surrender, he ordered, and send word to Earth. Tell them that Operation Thunderbolt was a success. The galaxy is about to learn a new way of living, one where cooperation and mutual defense replace empire and conquest. As the Vanguard fleet began powering down their weapons, Zhang thought about the future. Humanity had entered the galactic stage as explorers, been forced to become warriors, and would now take on a new role. Teachers, sharing the hard-won wisdom of their history to ensure that no empire could ever again threaten the freedom of other species. The war was over. The real work of building a lasting peace was about to begin. And humanity, with its unique understanding of both conflict and cooperation, would lead the way.